most of us that go and join any type of traditional brokerage, that's usually the place they always start from, right? Is the sphere of influence. That's where we start from. So sphere of influence. And I'm gonna use that term specifically for our primary audience. I'm not gonna talk about secondary. I'm not gonna talk about other things. We're gonna specifically talk about primary. And I'm gonna tell you what that means, because it matters. We can't just send text and email blast to every person that we've ever talked to. Okay, they're not gonna know you. There's no relationship. So we're gonna talk about that as well. And no matter the agent's experience, it's kind of funny. I'm gonna talk a little bit about where I came from and where I am today with sphere of influence. Every single person can benefit from building a sphere of influence. You guys know that your easiest transactions or opportunities are from people that care or have interest in your success, right? So we're going to talk about what that looks like. And the cool thing about all of this is if you ever want to coach and teach other people, this is all trainable and duplicatable. You guys can all teach this as well. And you can come up with a very simple touch campaign to stay in front of your sphere. We all have KV Core, most of the people in here, or you all have a CRM. And you have the ability to stay consistent. What's that? Yeah. Does anybody not know what a CRM means? Okay. Your ability to stay in front of people. There's one other element that makes it even easier, because sometimes it's easy to kind of think about, but it's hard to maybe explain to others, or if it's hard to explain to others, it's hard for you to own it. And I'm going to explain what that means in a minute. What were you going to say? What he said. Okay. And we'll send you business. Oh, and we'll send you business. Yeah, I think that's probably important. Like I said, we can't just send it to everybody that we know on Facebook, right? They're not all just going to immediately send you business if they don't have that personal relationship with you. I won't have time to get into the cold market of primary. I'm going to focus on the people that really do know you, but that's a whole nother class, right? So we can talk about if you don't have one, or maybe you can only come up with 100 names. What are we going to do to build that for people that have come here? I'm not going to get to that today, but that's another really good opportunity to learn. Why are we looking at sphere of influence? So what I wanted to do is kind of think back, and this is why I asked a few people in here that have sold kind of their first transaction, because we got some newer agents. Your very first, and this happens all the time. I talk to new agents. I talk to agents that are coming over from another space. And inevitably, every time you get your license, you typically get 2 or 3 pretty quick ones. You understand what I'm saying? Like either through, like you only tell your parents, you only tell your brothers and sisters, you only tell your kids, whoever your immediate sphere is, and you only verbally tell them that, right? And then you may have your immediate friends. Normally you get 1 or 2 pretty quick deals that way, and it comes directly from your sphere of influence. What if you could do that over and over and over again? Because now you've established yourself, now you're in front of them, now you have that connection, and those lower hanging, easier fruit referrals will now be available to you. That's really why we want to do this, okay? And a lot of this can be done in a very limited amount of actual specific work time. People prefer to do business by referrals. I've got Fred here. He's a business partner of mine in my flipping side, and and we do flips all over the U.S. now. But the main thing for us is people come for us for referrals. They want relationships, and they'll just use whoever we tell them to use because of the referral relationship. It's the same thing can be with you for real estate. They can say, hey, I trust her. I know that she'll take care of you, and if I refer you, it's an extra. They're going to make sure you're taken care of. That's that amazing bond, having those type of connections. They're easier conversions, as you would expect. Care, like, or respect. That's what I wrote down from a training. I took a lot of these trainings and kind of consolidated a lot of this. You'll generate $100,000 a year on this, and I'll show you why and how, just on referrals. And I'll bet most of you in here will sell more real estate through referrals than you will through a cold market. When you're fresh, you got to do open houses. You got to build those initial closings. But you should all be selling more through a referral type basis. And it could be from past clients, but it's really going to be from your sphere of influence. So the math that I took, this is from a guy named Eisenhower, wrote a book, and he's had a successful career building real estate teams. He wrote a book and he talked about, I like a little bit of the metrics. So when you're doing things, you have a purpose and a reason, and you can attach it to something. He says 1 out of every 7 primary, and I'm going to talk about what that means, referral partners will refer you something within the year if you touch them X number of times the prior year, okay? This will all flow cleanly. I'm just giving you the high level thinking. So, and I gave an example at 250 people, that's about 35 closings additionally after a full year of constant touching or contact, okay? That's really, really important. That's where the value of all this starts coming out. And you can tell the success of a real estate agent by the size and quality of their database. Facebook and Google ads, building that pipeline of people you don't know is not what I'm talking about. You just don't have a relationship and they're not going to refer you. They're either you're hot and they're hot at the same time and we make it happen, but that chance is real slim. You have a small window. Beyond that, they're not going to even consider you. I'll tell you just real quick for me, I didn't come from a brokerage. I never worked with a broker that could teach me and train me and show me how to do real estate. You know, a lot of this came from the way I thought about would make sense if either I was a client or if I was an agent on the other side. I thought about how to make these relationships work. So I didn't have training on building a sphere of influence. I got a license and then I talked to my personal friends. I mean, that was it. There was no Facebook posting back in 05, 06. So I was on equal playing ground with everyone else as no one else could do it. But it was more just like, I have a license, I can help you close that deal. And they said, well, you're pretty sharp, I'll let you do it. So I did it. And I started kind of figuring it out. And I put a sign in the yard and we had put it on the MLS and I would sell houses. You know, I just kind of like kicked the can around, figure it out. I didn't have a sphere of influence. I didn't have a database. I didn't have a CRM. I didn't have any way of tracking or keeping up with anyone. So I had to basically, I've done this all these years and I'm just now, I'd say about 2-3 months ago, I was actually talking to Fred about it. I'm looking at, you know, I don't really have a contact system for my sphere of influence besides stuff I post on True West or my Facebook page. And then I have a YouTube channel and I post a lot of videos there. I don't have any other touch system, you know? So I thought about, well, what would it look like if I built one? And I started reading and reviewing all this stuff and I came up with all these specific ideas and stuff. So I'm working through this at the same time you guys are, but I think there's a lot of practical things we can all do. And I think it's gonna help all of us really grow our business. I'll give you one quick story, and this is really kind of what hit home for me. You guys have all, if you've been doing this for a long time, you've lost a transaction of someone that you knew personally, right? Why didn't you call me to sell your house? Why didn't you call me to help you buy that house? I know most of you that have been doing this a long time, that's happened more than once. And it happened with my next door neighbor. This has been a couple of years ago. I was out the other day just really frustrated about the whole thing still. I'm thinking like, you've got to be, how did this happen? So we were talking and they knew me as a real estate investor and I knew how to advise people how to build net worth in real estate. So that's all they saw me as. So I was talking with them and I said, hey, well, one way we can do this is let's get you a rental property in Flower Mound. I live in Flower Mound. And to do that, we can do a cash out refi in your house, take the equity of your house, then go buy this property and then I'll get it rented out for you. And somehow in those conversations, they went through the entire process, got their house appraised. I gave them comps, worked through all of this, and they got money. And then an emergency happened in their life. They went to an open house, met an agent, signed a buyer rep agreement immediately with that agent, and wrote an offer on a new build. And at the same time, I'm asking them like, why would I just set up everything for you to have success? Why would you use another agent? And they're like, I didn't know you were an agent. So I talked to them about everything that wasn't buying and selling and working on an agent, and I never came out and told them I was a realtor. Never. I just don't. I just never have. And I'm realizing that there's probably some value. So now I don't tell people I do investments, I flip houses all over. I don't tell them any of that. I say I'm a real estate agent. That's all I tell them. Keep it simple. So that was a lesson for me. And it was a very expensive lesson. They bought a new build. It was $900,000 and closed on it like 2 days later. So it was a lesson for me, and then that was another compounding factor that I don't have a touch system staying in front of my sphere of influence, you know. And I have thousands in my group. I mean, I'm in a lot of things. I want to talk about how you can really connect with them, but I have plenty of people, and I realize a lot of them don't think of me first, or they may not even know I sell real estate. That's really two different things, right? You know, they might remember, oh yeah, Sean sells real estate, but they don't think of you first when they're out at an open house, right? I'm just, you know, and we've all gone through that. So let's talk about agent cycle. There's a purpose in where we're going. Agent cycle is capping to icon. This is specifically for EXP. Icon to 100% referral. And that's where I really want to focus, right? 100% referral is really, really specific. Imagine clients coming to you. She said it, right? She's building a business, or she's already built a business and she only refers out business, right? Like you're not actually going out showing houses or doing listings, but you're that conduit, says, hey, my partner, my agent on my team, we're going to help you take care of it, and I'm here all the way. And then they take it because of you. That's a referral. Imagine having 100% referral business. And the reason why it's valuable is because you get to choose clients, and you refer it all anyway, but you also get to choose your time. And that's a valuable element. For me, I tell people up front, I don't work weekends and evenings. And anyone in my referral network that works with me knows that. If it's an emergency, I'll deal with it. But I'm telling you guys, there's not a lot of emergencies, I think, in our business that need to be challenged at after 5 o'clock. I'm just saying, there just isn't. Like closings aren't happening generally after that time. Most of the transactional issues aren't happening after time. And don't schedule an inspection to end at 5 o'clock on a Saturday or Sunday. Stop doing that. That's another conversation. End them on a Monday or Tuesday. Otherwise, you will be working the weekend. And then we go for 100% referral, and you can choose to get into coaching. That's something I like. I think that's an important element. So we all want to get to 100% referral. That's another reason why we're getting into sphere of influence. Can you think of specific things that would not be good to be in your sphere of influence? What would you not put in there? How about we not put other realtors into our sphere of influence? Maybe that would be a good idea. My only objection is that I don't mind putting everyone, even those type, because I'll just refer them to... At some point, you can take... People get hungry enough, the tolerance of pain goes up, okay? You get hungry enough, your tolerance of pain goes up. I did have one client that I don't know. She was so mad at me. Like she said, give me your information. I want to know where I can post bad reviews. Like it was bad. Okay. And no kidding. Fred was with me. She called me the other day and said, hey, can you list my house? So if you're good, maybe they'll call you back still. Maybe you don't want to work with them, and she's still very challenging. And I listed her house. Even I'll take it. You work through it. All right. So your cold lead database, I talked about that, does not go in your sphere of influence, your primary sphere of influence. We're not going to put them in there. Every parent on your kid's sport team email list. It's tempting. And maybe not for most of you, but it was for me. Because, okay, there's 15 people on there. You have their emails and everything. I don't have first name communication with a lot of them. But there's probably 2 or 3 you do. They're good. I don't have a problem doing a secondary list, but that gets more complicated. We're only going to focus on primary. But I would definitely keep their information. I just wouldn't put them on your primary. Every friend you're connected to on Facebook. Probably not a good idea. There's a lot of people, I've connected to a lot of people that I'm sure wouldn't necessarily jump and recognize me right away because they're a friend of a friend or one of those type of things. Even though you went to school with them, I've been in this area for so long. I've been here for 30 plus years. And I went to high school with a lot of the people on Facebook, but they may not remember me, and they certainly don't remember me doing real estate today, but we might be friends on Facebook. So we got to keep that in mind. And they won't have any obligation to refer you business. They have better relationship with other agents probably as well. People you're connected with on LinkedIn. I'm at, I think, like 10,000 people on LinkedIn. I can't include them, and I probably won't include most of them unless I do have an outside relationship, right? Outside of LinkedIn. Here's the number one rule. We're going to talk about primary. Primary means they know you by first name. That's the easiest. I like to think of things on lowest common denominator because when you get things real complicated, you forget, like, care, and respect. That's hard to kind of remember all that. But if I knew me by first name, I knew them by first name, that's a pretty good engaging relationship. Okay? That's a pretty good rule of thumb. It may not always work. Again, you may have people that are first name that you never want to say their name again. Or could be other reasons, but first name is a good place to start when we're building that primary sphere of influence. So when we're building this list, the goal is roughly about 250. That's a magic number. Anyone in here, I think, can come up with 250 people they know by first name and they in reciprocal. They know each other. Okay? And they don't have to be in Texas. They don't have to be in your market. Okay? Keep in mind, relationships that you have that know you personally, they like, care, and respect you, you can still give them good information even if they're not in this area. That's another thing we lose sight of. Okay? A lot of us are at EXP. We can sell real estate anywhere in the US. We all have one cap, one one icon status, one everything. So it makes it really kind of convenient to be able to refer business anywhere. So we do have that advantage in that regard. But we're looking for a primary list with 250 names. I want you to collect their email address minimum, okay? Email is a special tool in CRM systems and marketing. I'll try to explain this analogy. I was talking to a guy that's been successful in YouTube, on LinkedIn, and all these different social platforms. And if you say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, you get canceled or you get suspended or things like that, right? And that can happen. And then your marketing campaign dies. If you don't capture the emails from that experience, then you get to start over. But if you can keep the emails, then you can continue your marketing platform on any platform, okay? So we want really a phone number. You guys should all have phone numbers. You want phone number and email, but email is the special one that allows you to have ongoing connection. People are not going to buy from you through email, but you're going to stay in front of them and you're going to be connected with them. There's some really big, powerful things that we can do with email, including apps and things that use email addresses to communicate with them. Okay, there's some really powerful tools you can use with that. On your, so I'm going to use the iPhone as an example. On the very bottom on your contacts, let's do that real quick as an exercise. If you open your iPhone, I don't know how to do it on Google, but I'm going to show you a quick tip on how to track these people. On your iPhone, go to Contacts, pick a contact, and then go to Edit. Okay? At the very bottom of the edit, very bottom, it's something called lists, something like that. Add list, is that what it says? Something like that? Yeah, so you can create specific tags, and I use primary, secondary, and agent. That's how I do mine. And then I also have other, okay? I'm not gonna tell you specifically, but I'll tell you other is like someone you're never gonna do relationship business with. And it could be because you don't like them, it could be. Or it could be like they're your house cleaner or they're your dentist. I'm not gonna necessarily put them in there because I they know me as a client. Primary, secondary, agent, and other. That's how I do mine. You can add it. And when you do that, each person you want to attach is that. And the reason why you do this is because this will now transfer into a CRM. And when you tag everybody the same, and if you use Zap, I know this is going to get real technical, Zapier allows you, every time you update your phone, it'll update the CRM. Okay? It's a little bit more advanced. We're not going to do that right now. But specifically in your phone, you want to tag them, okay, as primary. And that's people that know you by first name. The fastest way to build your sphere of influence is you go one person at a time on your contacts on your phone. It's painful. And I did it. I ended up with about 4,000 is what I started with. And it took me 3 weeks. I mean, I spent probably 100 hours easy. It was painful, but I'm doing it backwards, right? I didn't start, 2005 building this. So I had to go through all of my emails, all of my contacts, and I had the same email address as 2008. So all of that got posted in there. And I had to go through and say, okay, who is this person? What's my relationship? So it's very painful. You do it early enough, it makes it a lot easier. If you have it backed up on iCloud, any of that gets updated also. I'm going to give you one more complicated thing. It's called Contacts Plus. Contacts Plus is what I use to do everything. And what it does, it's basically you can do it on like if you're on a cloud, it's the same thing. You can do it on your Windows or on your desktop. You can manage it all there. And it allows me to create the tags. So I created my tags in Contact Plus, and it automatically put the tags on my contacts on my phone. It automatically syncs. So it allows you to sync your database from your contacts on your phone to Contact Plus, and then from there, now you can do what you want to do with it. You can now Zapier into KV Core, and this is getting kind of complicated, but you can now connect with KV. There's ways to do this and manage and keep up with your contacts. My only thing I want you to do is to be able to identify your primaries and put them in your phone and start with that. That's what you got to start with. You got to start with something easy. I'll tell you another easy one is you sell a house as a listing agent. I promise you that buyer agent's not going to stay in front of that client. Title will give you their contact info. And a lot of them can put it under a lot of them don't put it on the contract, but it could be on the contract as well. And they're not going to stay in front of them. You have a relationship as an agent in their transaction, and you got it done. That's an easy way for you to be able to stay in contact and put them on the list. They're free market for you to connect with. I would make them secondary because they're probably not going to know you by first name. But I would do that as secondary. This is just a quick tip. If you do secondary market, at some point, they're going to communicate with you. And And when they communicate with you, move them to primary. Okay, I've done that on several already. I've already sent out a couple of emails. I sent out an email, and I'll talk about some topics and things we could send out. I sent out the property tax crisis in Texas. Okay, we have a property tax crisis right now. We had 3 years, 30% increase. Now all of a sudden, all the homeowners are like, what the heck? I don't want to pay. Well, okay, this is why. This is how we're going to fight it, and this is how I can help you. And I did that to my entire list. I had about 1,200 that I sent it to. And I got a number of people that came back to me that were secondary for me. They became primary. Our goal ultimately is to touch the primary database 40 times a year. Okay? I only got a few more specific things I want to share because I know I'm running out of time. 40 times a year. Okay? And this is go back to the original thing I said. We have 250 people as primary in our database. We touch them all. Every 7 will send us a deal. That's 35 additional closings a year. That's after a full year of touching them 40 times. Okay? And it's not sending out 40 postcards. It's not sending out 40 texts. It's touches. Touches can be a newsletter. A lot of you do newsletters. And there's a lot of them that are custom newsletters that let you put in like a custom video. I strongly recommend it. People want organic. They want to know you. You don't have to have a fancy production. So if you can do that, for me, I've got my property tax video I've already sent out to everyone. I can attach that in my newsletter that I send out to my entire database that I'm connected with. That's something I can do. You can use, I gave a couple of examples. One's called Keeping Current Matters, okay? And then another one's called Home Actions, I think. That's another one. Keeping Current Matters allows you to make a nice, clean, customizable newsletter that goes out on your behalf. And they have canned stories. The more organic you can put into it, the more value it is to and that's one of the rules of thumb. The more personable you can make any of this, the higher the quality connection will be. I'm still looking at them. I have not actually decided on what kind of newsletter campaign I want to do, but I'm planning on doing something. I talked about personal monthly newsletters, and I'm telling you the number one thing here is a big thing when I do a lot of coaching with my agents is I'm looking for things that help them grow their business without spending money. That newsletter thing is only like $50 a month. I have someone that's used them. He likes specifically the way they customize a little bit better and some other options, but it is free with KV Core. It does have the ability. Keeping Current Matters comes up. They have like 30 or so articles. They break it up into different things. Buyers, sellers, market, all kinds of news articles. You can draw specifically what you can relate with your people. And then you're always going to I would always have something that you specifically can add to it. Just add one thing. You don't have to come up with 10 articles. Just add one thing you can interject with a video that makes it at least come from you. But there's plenty of good content that they offer. That organic component now creates an attachment with your audience. And I don't mind the Christmas newsletters, that we get from friends and stuff. They say, hey, here's what happened this year. That's kind of expected. But when you go above, beyond, and you share kind of what's going on month to month, it's a lot better, right? You're going to have that in personal. And all you have to do is write an update about what's going on with you and they want to know, so write it and make it organic, especially your personal primary contacts that know you by first name. They'll get to know you better, and they're going to have connections about things that you have no idea. Good idea. Monthly home value updates. Okay. A lot of us know we can do that. I use something called HomeBot. Okay. HomeBot's really clever. It's not even specifically for agents. It's meant really more for lenders. So it's more of a cost to a lender, but it puts it in front of your audience, and it tells them things about their house as an investment, not just here's how much your house is worth. It talks about, it even gives like daily rates on a VRBO on your, how interesting is that? No one's ever thought of that when they own a home. They don't buy homes as an investment. They buy it because they have home ownership and they can live there. I'm telling you, 90% of people, they just don't think of it that way. So when you introduce those things, now you're adding additional credibility. Another one is, there's automated CMA apps and things like that. HomeBot's what I use. There are a lot of them that do that, just staying in front of them. I also think twice a year, you send them a personalized CMA on their market and their house twice a year, right? And I heard, have y'all heard the 2 dates to do it? Have y'all heard this before? You're supposed to do it twice a year. Okay, well, I made it up, but I swear I've heard it specifically. I think I did January and June or something. I don't know. I made it up, but I think January is one of the dates, and it could be for taxes. It could be. I don't remember why, but twice a year, send them a personalized, customized home value report comps out of your CRM. It looked like you did the work. Send it to them. And I think I'm telling you, you'll get a response 20, 30% of the time. Huh? I had a VA a long time ago. I trained to do all my automated CMMs. You could go in there and post your address and she would do it for me, but no, I do it myself. You can text them on your primary. I would do non-real estate. How are you doing? You know, hey, you said you got that thing done, surgery done. Have a connection. Make a personal connection. Don't even talk about real estate. You know, I've had this negative, because this has been negative the last couple of years. It's been a tough market. And I feel like I keep telling people, yeah, it's been tough. I hit big 2 years ago. Last year was rough. This year's been rough. And I'm telling people that. And I realize that they don't really want to hear that. They want to know that, not that you're doing great and everything's perfect, but just say, yeah, I'm busy, just selling real estate. Everything's going well. Turn it back on them is usually a good way to kind of avoid that conversation. But you don't want to come off negative, because then you end up coming off desperate. Right? You want to be confident in what you're doing and be someone they would consider when they're looking at real estate. Mail out birthday lottery tickets. That's a good little tip. Another connection that's now an extra touch for the year. Give them a birthday card and a $1 lottery ticket. They'll remember. If you do that every year, they will expect it. But it's super cheap. It's a very inexpensive. You can use that hello, whatever the sign thing you can do in the KV Core back marketplace, where you can, it'll handwritten. That's what I would do. A lot of you will probably write them yourself. You know, I automate things, sorry. Oh, phone call. That is the most powerful. This is specifically where the rubber hits the road. If you call them and have a conversation with them, at some point they're going to know, okay, you're in real estate. They'll make the connection, and you don't bring up real estate. I know that's a hard thing you're saying, but if they now see you elsewhere, either through Facebook, posting videos and other things, they know you're in real estate. And then you're having, how are you doing? Oh, you know, we're thinking about moving. Or, you know, I was thinking about you the other day, and they weren't, but now that you're calling them, now they are. And then now the opportunity comes up. You know, my sister needs to move. They need to move here because Dallas-Fort Worth is the best place to live in the U.S., right? That's what we tell everybody. And Texas is the best country in the U.S. That's what I tell everybody. Double check your entire primary database. Make sure you're connected with them on LinkedIn and Facebook. Make sure you have a connection there, and post 80% of the time non-real estate. How many times y'all get tired of the agent that posts every single thing they're doing, every closing? It's funny, I was teasing Fred about this, is like, I mean, I close generally 1 to 2 a week. I think people would be turning my stuff off if I'm posting it every single, it's just funny to me. We're not doing a social media, but the main thing on social media is you want to offer, you don't want to celebrate yourself, you want to offer some value to them. It's the number one thing when posting real estate on Facebook. Offer them value. You must keep an active database of touches to continue getting referrals all year. A company with only a customer service department will be doomed to failure. Okay? Most of us will start this, get it set up, make some movement, and then they stop, and then they become a customer service company and not a actively marketing company as well. So if you stop doing this active touching, then you're only customer service and you will fail. You'll stop getting that continuous growth of opportunities. So that's all I got. That's it.
Very good.
Yeah.